Patrick.
Patrick
Tracy.
Patrick Tracy, where are you from?
Originally from Boston.
You are.
Yeah.
And what are you doing out here on Nantucket?
I'm an author on a book tour.
Okay.
Yep.
And what's the book?
Book is called Stalking Irish Madness, Searching for the Roots of My Family's Schizophrenia.
That's it right there.
That's it. And it won the biggest nonfiction prize in New England this year, the 2009 Penn New England Prize.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a shocker.
Have you written other books?
No, not really. This is the only one.
Your real wow, your very first book and you win a prize? I mean, how many people can do that?
Yeah, I actually did write a couple of books, but they were young adult books written for the money.
Yep.
This is the book I was born to write.
Right.
The concept is I stalk the madness that stalks my family.
Okay.
We have probably the most schizophrenic family ever documented, now that this book's done. Yeah, and half my siblings are schizophrenic. Schizophrenia is the most severe form of mental illness, the most prevalent form of mental illness, and the most widely misunderstood form of mental illness. They're the people on the street talking to themselves we all avoid.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2.4
How prevalent is it?
2.4 million diagnosed in America,
Okay.
1 in 100 observed worldwide in all countries. The gene markers go back millions of years to our pre-human ancestors.
So why did you want to write the book?
We were devastated by schizophrenia. It's a biological disorder of the brain that comes out of nowhere. Rapid onset
Right.
is a feature. It strikes quickly over a period of 3 weeks to a few months. A person who previously expresses no underlying signs of psychological problems
When does it happen?
suddenly has a total and an immediate change in personality and becomes psychotic.
At what ages does this normally happen?
Strikes generally between 16 and 34.
All right.
Late onset schizophrenia is a rare thing, but I think that's an oversimplification because mainly it's the hearing of voices. I like to tell people to think of it as like having 5 to 12 clock radios in your head, all some badly tuned, some really loud, and those voices that they hear are as real as the voice you're hearing now coming out of my mouth. And in fact, as you listen to my voice right now, it's taking up 30% of your body energy. The Broca region of the auditory cortex in your brain is lighting up like a pinball machine right now, listening to my voice. We can tell that in brain scans. If you were schizophrenic and you were in a room, a soundproof room, with no outside sound stimuli present, and you were being observed talking to your voices, the brain scan, MRI scan, the auditory cortex, the Broca region of your brain would be lighting up too. So the biologists have led the psychologists back to the voices and said, take these seriously. It's as real as anything. Up until a couple of years ago, it was considered dangerous and even irresponsible for psychiatrists to recommend that their schizophrenic patients dialogue with their voices. Now we know there's been a revolution. The ground has shifted under psychiatry's feet, and now we all know that it's irresponsible to recommend that they don't, that they need to talk to their voices and dialogue with their voices. This is a revolution that's come out of Europe, flourished in Europe, where schizophrenics by the tens of thousands are reclaiming their lives. Think of schizophrenia as a non-ordinary state of consciousness rather than a sickness. Man has always heard third-person voices. We all have voices. We call that the first-person voice of the superego. Man has always had voices that he's listened to Socrates heard voices, auditory hallucinations, verbal hallucinations they call it. They speak in genders. They're young, they're old, they have different personalities. They're charming, they're funny, they're in bad moods, they're in good moods, they're playful, they're delightful, they're maniacal, they're murderous. They're all these things. And 1,000 years ago, if you had this problem, you might have had elevated social status as a shaman. Today, you'd be lucky if you're picking through the rubbish bins at night for your dinner.
Right.
So we need to change, not them. And the change is happening. I'm sort of a Pied Piper. I found the Hearing Voices Network in Ireland, where there was also a mad, epic outbreak of insanity in the 19th century. And that's in the history books. Among the Irish, in Ireland, New York, Boston, the asylums were filling up. Nationwide, in Ireland itself, a nationwide system of county insane asylums all over Ireland was in the 19th century the largest public works project ever built by the English, who didn't know what to do with it. It was said rather playfully that Ireland was one big open-air lunatic asylum, but people meant that quite seriously, and it was. And it was related to a few things I discovered in Stalking Irish Madness, searching for the roots of my family's schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Shameless book plug moment.
Gotta do it.
Yeah. There's three things really. One was maternal malnourishment from the famines, the endless famines. Not just the great Irish famine that in the 1840s coughed my insane ancestors onto the docks of Boston, where they unpacked their schizophrenic gene bank and sent it sailing through the generations, including two sisters of mine, an uncle of mine, and a grandmother of mine. They had suffered many famines besides that great one, the Irish did, for a period of about 300 years. It was a continual part of their economy, as they were being squeezed off their land west of the Shannon, where the peasant Irish had been driven by Cromwell. His battle cry was "to hell and a Connaught." So in the province of Connaught, the westernmost province and the easternmost province and the easternmost county in the westernmost province, Roscommon County, the very first gene link for schizophrenia was discovered. I was living in London. It pulled me into the story. I was going over there in a rental car, slouching towards Ireland, and finally I ended up in a camper van. I lived there for 4 months in a camper van, and I talked from everyone to doctors, to old druids, to genealogists, looking for lost relatives, trying to get a handle, stalking the madness that stalked my family.